All right, guys, if you're starting with this section, you need to go back to part 1. Make sure you watch part 1 first. We're in the middle of 3.3, the ratification of the US Constitution. So if you haven't watched part 1 yet, go back and do that. This is part 2. This should be short. It won't take our whole 15 minutes up. It'll be shorter than that. Remember, on part 1, we left off with, do we approve the US Constitution, which is what Federalists want? Or do we say, no, down with the US Constitution, which is what anti-federalists are saying we should do? This is what this argument is about. Keep that in mind. All right, here we go, moving on. So again, here's the debate. If you were a Federalist, you were cool with the Constitution as it was. You didn't feel like it needed a Bill of Rights. You didn't feel like it needed any changes. You 100% believed it was better than the AFC for sure. And you 100% believed that national government really did need more power than state government for a country to efficiently run. Okay, those are Federalists. They believe in federal government. That's why they are called Federalists. Okay, if you're an anti-Federalist, remember anti means against, right? Federalist, so you're against the Federalists. Makes sense. Okay, you had 2 types of anti-Federalists. Pay attention. How many types? 2 types. Okay, so 2 types of anti-Federalists. The first type was, we don't want the Constitution at all. You need to go back to the drawing board. This is a horrible idea. This is no better than the AFC. It sucks. Okay, that's one kind of anti-federalist. The other type of anti-federalist, the more popular type, there was more of this type of anti-federalist, was we're willing to consider the US Constitution, but we ain't gonna do it unless you add a Bill of Rights to the US Constitution. This is an incomplete document. You need to guarantee us basic fundamental rights. We just got done paying and fighting for a very costly war, the Revolutionary War, to get these rights. England had stripped us of all of these natural rights, of all of these basic liberties, and you don't address them at all in the US Constitution. To me, I think I might have been an anti-federalist with wanting an amendment added, because they make a good point. Like, where are you guaranteeing us these freedoms we just fought a huge war for, right? And so the second type of anti-federalist was, hey, we can do the US Constitution if you add a Bill of Rights, okay? We need basic liberties, basic freedoms guaranteed, like freedom of speech, like freedom of the press, like freedom of religion, and other things. We want to make sure in black and white, right there in the contract, we are guaranteed we're going to get these items. Okay, so keep that in mind. All right, Q4, struggle over ratification, because it is a struggle. No one side wins very quickly here. There's a lot of Federalists that are like, yes, let's say ratify. And there's a lot of anti-Federalists saying, no way, don't ratify. So this is a debate that goes on for weeks and weeks. Okay? So eventually, what ends up happening is the Federalists cave, and they promise that if you guys, you states, you start voting pro-US Constitution, you vote to ratify the US Constitution, we promise we will add a Bill of Rights. So they're taking it on faith that a Bill of Rights is going to be added. And so what do you know? The states do start to ratify. They do start to roll in with votes saying, yes, we agree to the US Constitution. Okay, remember we need at least 9 of the 13 states to say, yes, we're good with the Constitution for it to become the new law of the land and for us to ditch the AFC. All right. Although the lack of basic rights was still a big problem, okay, this guarantee that they would add a Bill of Rights really tipped the scales in the Federalist favor, and people start being willing to vote. Okay, because initially they did take a vote, and Massachusetts, which remember, Massachusetts is a big mover and shaker. That's where Boston is, where a lot of this, patriot activity had happened. And Massachusetts voted no. They said, nope, we're not ratifying this. We want a Bill of Rights. The Federalists at that point kind of realized, yeah, we're going to need to cave and give in to this demand. So that's when they had decided to promise that they would add one. And once they do that, the states start rolling in with yes votes. Yes, we'll ratify the US Constitution as long as this Bill of Rights is for sure going to be added. Okay, so eventually you're going to end up with enough states to get the vote. New Hampshire becomes the 9th state that says, yes, we'll do it, we ratify, as long as you're going to add this Bill of Rights. And so at this point, hey, 9 out of 13 is what we needed. We go on to get more votes than that, but hey, we needed those 9. Awesome blossom. We are going to switch over from the AFC. It's gone. No more. Articles of Confederation is dead. We are now going to follow the U.S. Constitution. Okay, video clips to follow. Make sure you look at those. Don't forget to highlight from Q4. And we are already on getting towards our last question. There's only 5 questions here. So just to summarize up to this point, because again, you guys cannot express to you enough, test questions, extra credit, class projects, class assignments, they're going to be all over this Federalist, Anti-Federalist stuff. Make sure you keep it straight. If you are a Federalist, you supported moving power from the states who had too much of it under the AFC and giving it to the national or federal level government. Why you're called Federalist, federal level government. Okay, you favored, as a Federalist, dividing the powers amongst different branches of government. You recognize there is the possibility that if somebody could get too much power in government, there could be tyranny, there could be problems, they could abuse that power. So you say, hey, let's divide the power out amongst branches in government so that doesn't happen. That way no one person or no one branch gets too powerful, and this will spare us from getting tyranny or a dictator in government. And so that's the check and balance system. Okay, they propose that we do have an executive branch. We need leadership because remember, under AFC it didn't exist. All right, and they do want the states to have power as well. They feel like it's a shared responsibility between national level government and state level government working together to create a harmony in the U.S. Okay, if you're an anti-federalist, again, you feel like the state should have more power than the federal government by a lot. Okay, you want the states to maintain that power because you're afraid that if you have an executive branch, if you have a branch of government at the national level with a leader, like a I almost said principal. No, not principal. Like a president, that they might become a king or a tyrant, and you don't want that. Okay, so as an anti-federalist, you're like, we need to keep state government strong. And if we're going to do this Constitution thing, says anti-federalist, we need a Bill of Rights. You need to guarantee us basic freedoms. Okay, so keep that in mind. All right, but then remember, we go on to ratify this. We are going to sell it to the people. We're going to get those 9 out of 13 votes because we're going to offer and pledge and promise we're going to add a Declaration of Independence. Okay, so we're going to add a Bill of Rights, not a Declaration of Independence. Scratch that. We're going to add a Bill of Rights. Okay, all right, so why do we need to add a Bill of Rights? Like, what's the big deal? If you haven't gotten it already, because it's kind of clear we want to make sure we get these freedoms, okay? Here are the 3 main reasons that it was decided by Federalists, yeah, we got to cave, we got to give them this Bill of Rights. 1, most of the states would not ratify the Constitution without it. 2, it protected natural rights and freedoms, okay? Which, remember, that's a huge goal. The whole D of I, the Declaration of Independence, when we broke off from England, was all about natural rights, right? We had these. They were given to us by our Creator. Everybody should have life, liberty, and property. And yet the U.S. Constitution doesn't mention these rights. We want to make sure they're in there somewhere, okay? And 3, by giving a list of natural rights and other basic liberties that we should have, like freedom of the press and freedom of religion and the right to bear arms, which means to own a gun, and other things, it's going to help limit the power of the federal government, which is a win for anti-federalists, because remember, they don't want a super powerful national level government or federal government. They want stronger state government. So by adding this Bill of Rights, it is going to knock the national government down a peg as far as how much power they have, because it's going to give some of the power back to the people. If we have these lists of rights, we're guaranteed that we get. Okay, it's going to make the people, the state, got a little bit more power again, giving some of that back that the national government was taking. So those are the big reasons to add a Bill of Rights. Okay. The next lecture we're going to do together is on what the Bill of Rights is. What are these 10 things that we end up adding? What are these basic rights everybody wanted? So we're going to get to that coming up. All right, so here's the date of ratification, guys. Yes to no votes are there. What order everybody says yes in. At the end of the day, eventually we get all 13 states to agree with adding the Constitution as long as we have added that Bill of Rights in. We're going to ditch the AFC and move on to the US Constitution. Okay, so it's official. Let's party. Woohoo! We got a new central level government. And here is the Bill of Rights. We're going to take a closer look again at that in the coming days in class, all right? But just kind of a preview of the things that we're guaranteed in the U.S. Constitution through the Bill of Rights that they add on to the end of the U.S. Constitution document to ensure we've got some basic freedoms that we want. All right? All right, you guys, don't forget to write your summary, minimum of 10 sentences. Don't forget your left-hand side questions. I'll see you in class. Hope you have a great night. Talk to you later. Bye.